Hello, Muskegon Rotary. It's a pleasure to be with you again today. And as always, we've got a great program set up for you. Thanks to Mike Vogus in setting this up. But we're going to talk about past year's achievements in a very positive light. And I've got three panelists that I think are going to deliver some excellent information over that topic. And we're calling this "Making It Happen." Because really, if we think about it, Muskegon over the last several years has been making it happen. And what better way to celebrate that than to talk to three individuals who have been a part of that process? I'd like to introduce our panel. We are joined today by the ever lovely Brianna Scott, the mindful Frank Peterson, and for sure, what I call Mr. Muskegon. And I'm looking forward to one day maybe following in his footsteps, but Bob Skolnick. And we're going to plan on, I'm going to ask these three fine individuals a series of questions, and they're going to provide you with some information that maybe you knew, but hopefully that you didn't know. So let's get started. I want to start with Miss Scott. Brianna, good to see you. How
Yes,
are you?
I'm doing well, DJ. How are you?
Fantastic. My first question to you is, and I think this is a good way to stick it off to kind of start us off here. But how can one person, how can one person make a difference?
Well, I remember a song when I was in what we called Vacation Bible School at my church when I was really little. And it was called This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine. I don't know how many people know that song, right? But it was about the whole concept of like, if you are like a light, that you will be able to be on display to others, and it could end up, exponentially taking over everyone within your vicinity and those that you come in contact with. And so I've kind of looked at life that way, and I certainly look at my life as that. I feel that if you have a passion in something, such that I do with DEI matters, in trying to make a difference in my community, that if I can be that spark, people are going to get excited because I'm super excited, and it's just going to end up, transferring on, to where you get everyone energized over, whatever that issue is. And so I certainly think that one person can make a difference. It always starts with one, right? So I feel like you can do whatever you want to do. If you've got that passion, you're going to be contagious to everyone around you.
Well, there's no question, Brianna, that when you are passionate about something, it's no wonder why people want to jump on board with that. So thank you for being that light. I want to move over to Frank Peterson. Frank, obviously, you've been part of the city structure for quite some time now, and we've seen a lot of different things happening. What has been the greatest change in your organization or community that you feel you've been able to make happen here in Muskegon County?
I think I almost piggyback a little bit on what Brianna said. I think, you know, rewind a few years ago, there are a lot of people who didn't believe that we could do a lot of the things that are happening here. Didn't believe that people would build buildings into downtown, or people would come downtown to shop or want to live in some of the neighborhoods that we have. And I think one of the biggest changes that I feel like we made is, whether it's in the city or in the suburbs or in the metropolitan area or even across Michigan, I think we, to some extent, helped people, begin to believe a little bit that this was a worthwhile place to live, and invest in and care about. And there were always people that did, right? We always knew that there were a lot of people that did, but there were enough people that didn't, that that made it easy for us to say, well, it's okay that this isn't going well or that isn't going well. And I think now we've kind of set a standard pretty high around here, where the expectation is that investments are happening. We're taking care of the people who live here. We're attracting new people to come here as well. And we're doing all the things in a thoughtful way. And we're not accepting, status quo, at all, unless status quo is obviously something that's going really well. But we're not accepting that as just a normal. We're focusing that from day in and day out, we can do a little thing to make somebody's life or somebody's quality of life a little bit better. And I think if you look at it, you see the incremental change throughout Muskegon. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen, in 1 year. But we set up a goal as a city to always focus on quality of life, and everything we do is about helping somebody's quality of life, especially understanding that improving one person's quality of life could maybe negatively impact somebody else's quality of life. It makes it very hard to, very hard to work those things out. But, we firmly believe if we're working to make people's quality of life better consistently, then everybody will do better. And my phone
Excellent.
ringing.
Kind of staying. Yeah. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate that. Staying with that same theme, I'm going to transition over to Mr. Skolnick. Bob, obviously, you've been a member of this community for a lot of years. You've been a part of a lot of different organizations, and as well as taking on projects on your own. So, can you describe for us Rotarians, our fellow Rotarians, when you've had an idea that you believed would help the community, what method did you use in making it happen?
Well, I have some kind of defects in my personality, and one of them involves working with others. It's not like you have to work with others; that happens. But I've taken a different approach to some things, and like if I see something that I think needs to be done, rather than sometimes gathering a group of people. I mean, a lot of times you have to, but if I can do it myself, I prefer to figure it out and do it myself. And thinking about this, I have a couple of examples. I don't know, maybe it was 12, 13 years ago. Nobody was bringing concerts into Muskegon, and people were complaining. There's never, we don't have popular music. They're, not using the Frauenthal for that sort of thing. So I started a little company, Mona Lake Productions. I started booking acts. I took all the risk. I had no partners in this thing. I booked. I remember I think the first group I had was Riders in the Sky. They did the music, by the way, for Toy Story. And over the course of 8 years, produced about 25 concerts. All the money, I took all the risk. I took nothing for myself. Whatever profits were made went to nonprofits. That was another thing. Plus, I paid the Frauenthal. I helped fill restaurants downtown. Over those 8 years, we generated about $150,000 that was given away to nonprofits. So there was one example. The other one was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, people were complaining about the cannons in Veterans Memorial Park. They needed to be restored. Had nothing had been done to them in like 30 years. So I just kind of took that on, raised the money, got it done. Yeah, I had some, obviously had to get some other people involved because I didn't own the cannons. But that all got done, and I kind of feel good doing that. And it fills my time. And so one person can get a lot done if they want to. So that's my story.
Excellent. That's about an eighth of your story, but I appreciate that very much. I want to, obviously our time goes by so very quickly, so we've got about 11 minutes or so here, and I want to focus. I mean, we've had each of you talk about, how you've made a difference and some of the impacts that you've made. I want to focus in on this one particular question for each one of you. I'm going to again kind of start with Brianna. Is where do you see the need for improvement? Brianna, I want you to also focus a little bit on where you might see some improvement as it relates to race relations as well. So from your perspective, Brianna, where do you see the need for improvement here in our community?
So for me, I absolutely will start off where you told me you wanted me to focus. Having chaired the DEI committee since, I want to say it was probably 2013 going into the 2014 Rotary year, to me, it was very apparent that in Muskegon, we have a very segregated county, quite frankly. And having been one of those, I would say, coming up, one of those exceptions, I went to Mona Shores. I was like one of the only Black people in my graduating class, but I had always had that opportunity to be around people that looked different to me. So I've always had the comfortability level, if you will, to move in different circles because of the way that I was brought up. But what I noticed is that not everybody is like that, right? Most people want to stay in their silos where they feel comfortable. They want to stay in their specific communities where they know their neighbors and maybe the person that's at the mom and pop grocery store or what have you. And they don't really go outside of that. And then from that, we get into people then maybe projecting onto others what they may feel about certain communities because they don't understand it. They've never ever been there themselves. Maybe they just play into what they may see on M Live or in comments on some type of media, and they've never had an experience of their own in order to make their own, opinion about a specific community. And so for me, it really takes us to kind of come outside of ourselves. And one of the hardest things to do is for people to kind of change. Most people like to stay the way that they have been, and they feel uncomfortable if they have to, do anything different. But we wanted to challenge people to do things different in Rotary. And so from that perspective, as Rotarians, we felt we are in a prime position as leaders in this community to really affect change here. Let's get people into a community that maybe doesn't have the best reputation from the media standpoint, and show people what this community really is, because we don't want people to feed into that. And so that from that idea came about the community mixer that we did with the city of Muskegon Heights. And one of the great things about it is they had just renovated Mona Lake Park. And so we thought, let's celebrate this as a community. We don't want this just to be for people that live in Muskegon Heights. We've got this beautiful, park on the lake. We've got facilities for baseball. We've got basketball courts, picnic areas, playgrounds. Let's celebrate this and make this a community event. And from that, people started to look at things a little bit differently. I mean, we started off really small, less than probably 200 people at the very first mixer, all the way up to over 750 or over 800 at the last one that we had, that was over in Rohan Park, which was in downtown Muskegon Heights City Center. And what happens from that, relationships are developed, and then you start to break down those barriers, because as I get to know people in these communities, I no longer have to look at what other people tell me about it. I can say myself, hey, I've been in this community, I've eaten at this restaurant, or I got to know this person. And it really starts to break down those barriers and build the bridges that we as Rotarians need to build.
Excellent. Having attended the mixer myself, I agree. That's been a fantastic addition to our community events. So thank you for that. Frank, I want to turn to you. Kind of the same question as far as where a room for improvement, and I want you to focus in a little bit on the city of Muskegon itself, since that's kind of your area of expertise. And what are the priorities for the city that you see?
Yeah, I almost would say Brianna kind of hit the nail on the head there. We really need to make sure that our neighborhoods and our parts of our city are for everybody. So we don't want people to assume that we only build low income housing in certain neighborhoods, or only people of a certain type or income level or age like another certain neighborhood. And one thing that we've really tried to focus on is making sure that as we do big things in our downtown, that they do actually result in improvements to the neighborhoods that surround the downtown. And I think a lot of cities struggle with that every single year. And you see it in it, year in and year out in local politics. This mayor or this person only cares about downtown. And then so somebody runs on a platform to undo that, or to focus on the neighborhoods. And I think what we've been pretty lucky here in Muskegon is that the investments we've made in our downtown have kind of really started to move into our neighborhoods, and especially with our new housing initiative, where we're building market rate houses, low income housing, and moderate income housing, and all different housing types in our neighborhoods. That's the best way to make sure that these neighborhoods look the way that Brianna is describing, so that everybody feels they can afford to live in a neighborhood, that they're welcome in a neighborhood, that the neighborhood is for them. And and right now we have a project right now where we're building over 100 infill houses, and the agreement that we made was that 40% of them would go to people between 70% and 120% of the area median income. So they're like the average Joe. They're very much the average person. And I think what you're going to see is, as we build those into neighborhoods that have been, maybe predominantly is not the right word, but they've had pretty large low income housing populations in those neighborhoods. What you're going to see is that we're going to have people working together in those neighborhoods and coming to understand, what's important to everybody, because they're your neighbors. So you could have a person that, that looks like me living next door to a great neighbor that looks like Brianna, living next door to a nice older retired guy that looks like Bob, and the neighborhood neighborhoods end up being for everybody. And I think that's our next biggest thing. How do we build neighborhoods or reinvest in neighborhoods so that they're for everybody, so that they're for young and old and rich and poor and everybody in between, and everybody feels comfortable there. And I think we started on that. And it's not just within the city of Muskegon. I'm sure other cities have that same desire, hopefully, to get their neighborhoods looking the same way.
Excellent. Yeah, no, every time that I come through the downtown, I see the progress that's being made on those houses, and it's just fascinating and wonderful to see. So kudos to you, Frank, and your team. I want to finish off with you, Bob. You've got about 4 minutes to answer this question, but I want to kind of go from where Frank has started at a city level and go to the county level. You are now currently the chair of the county commission. You've been with the county commission for several years, and what do you see from a county perspective as far as what a priority or room for improvement is, and how do you feel county government can assist in achieving that goal?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I'm in my 10th term as a county commissioner, so it'll be 20 years at the end of this term. I was on the city council for 10 years before that, and I've had a lot of involvement with nonprofits. So I think I have, and I own businesses, and I was good at it. So I think I have a pretty good experience to be a community leader. The county is being challenged right now, and in a way, I hate to talk about this, but it's important. The political situation in the country is ugly. That's kind of the only way I can frame it, because it's difficult. It's difficult to make progress when people are adamantly opposed to anything the other side says. And I would I don't know how long I'm going to stay county commissioner, but I know I have this 2 years as chair of the county board. It's a huge honor for me. It's a big responsibility, and if there's one thing I'd like to get done is to try to create some more cooperation between the commissioners and try to reduce the amount of, I don't want to use the word animosity, but it's almost like that, where people are playing a game of gotcha with each other. It's not a healthy way to run a government. So that's one of my goals. In the case of Muskegon County, I think I need to say this, and I'm going to talk about this over the next couple of years. People think that the county is in bad shape financially. There's just a lot of things that need fixing, and I want to let people know that the county's fund balance, which is the unallocated amount of money that we have to work with, has never been higher. Our credit rating is AA stable. It's a really good credit. I mean, there's not much better than that. Could be AAA, but we're a small county. There are so many things that are good that have happened in the county that they seem to be lost every time something doesn't seem right, or rumors get started on social media. And the county is really pretty well run. We have hundreds of fewer employees than we did even 5 or 6 years ago. And I see that as a good thing, because we're just trying to become more efficient and maybe reduce some of the things we shouldn't be doing, get out of them. But the county is a big operation. There's over 1,000 employees still. It's got a budget of about $225 million, and it has a big impact in this community. And it's my goal to see that it's run as efficiently as possible. Yet I understand that this is the way I understand government. Government is to do things, to help people do things they can't do for themselves. And there's a lot of things that maybe I don't need. For example, there's some issues with the MATS bus system right now, where people are saying maybe we don't need the bus system. The three of us on this panel maybe don't need the bus system, but there's a segment of our population that absolutely needs public transportation. There are people that are handicapped that have no way to get around. They use, our handicapped transportation. And I'm sorry, let me turn that off. So I'm a Republican. I've always run as a Republican. I'm a moderate, warm-hearted Republican. That's all I can say. And not everybody, unfortunately, is like that these days. So we have some challenges, but I'm going to do my very best to try to make some headway to get back to just a friendlier way of doing business in government at the county level. And I want to, if this is the end of my political career, which I don't know, but it could be, I want to go out on a high note and have people say, you know what, he made a difference.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you all for being a part of this panel discussion. And it's amazing how fast 20 minutes goes. And I know a bit over time, so I apologize. But I want to personally thank all of you. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, Frank. And thank you, Bob, for being a part of this panel discussion and enlightening our Rotarians on how they can make a difference, how they can be part of something that's very special. And again, I hope they understand and appreciate how great Muskegon really is and why our community is worth fighting for every chance that we get. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So thank you all for being a part of this discussion. Again, thanks, Mike Voges, for being the tech side of this. We appreciate it. Everybody have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.